Hello, let's continue our discussion of the reducing balance loan sheet. In previous videos, I showed you how to create a reducing balance loan sheet from scratch and then how to set up a one-time payment column which reduces your loan term. Also, I showed you how to find the total interest paid as a percent of the principal. In this video, we're going to see how to correct negative balances, setting them to zero, and also how to find relative percentages of interest and principal paid back each month. So let's examine the sheet quickly to look for some salient points. Now, for a loan amount of $8,000 at an annual interest rate of 6%, the minimum monthly payment is $243.38. You'll notice that the minimum monthly payment is the same for all the months here, right? Now we have a one-time payment here, which for the moment I'm just going to delete so that you can see here the balance at the very end of 36 months is zero as expected. Now remember that the portion paid towards the interest is a multiple of the balance at the beginning of the month and the monthly interest rate. So that's what we use as a formula, D6 times $3, which is the balance times the monthly rate. Remember that, we will use it very soon. Let's set up a one-time payment, let's say in August of 2021. Let's set it up as $1,000 like we did last time. The moment you click anywhere else in the sheet, the formula kicks in and it shows you that the amount paid towards the principal is $1,000 more than it was. Now, this resets all the balances so that your loan actually clears earlier than 36 months. But that also starts showing you negative balances. Now, why do these negative balances occur? And how can we correct them to zero using an if statement? The negative balances occur because when you have the loan balance at the beginning of the month being less than the minimum monthly payment, then you're paying more than it's due, and therefore you get a negative balance at the end of the month. So we need to offset this. In this month, which is August 2023, you do not need to pay as much as $243.38. You just need to pay $77.28 plus the interest on $77.28. That should clear your loan completely in that month of August. Now let's set this up as an if statement in the cell here. So we're going to set up a condition that if the balance at the beginning of the month is less than the minimum monthly payment, then the value in the cell should default to the balance at the beginning of the month plus the interest on that balance. And let's see what happens. So setting up an if statement, let's go up to the bar on top and start with if, open a bracket. Let's reference this cell. This happens to be D37. So D37 is less than F3. That's our condition. Put a comma and now we'll write what should happen if this condition is true. So if the condition is true, we discussed earlier that the output should be the same amount D37 plus D37 times the monthly interest rate, which is in this case, we remember that value $3. And you have to write the value if it's false. If D37 is not less than F3, then you simply let the cell return the minimum monthly payment, which is we're writing in the wrong place, which is simply $3. And now let's close the cell, close the bracket, hit enter. So you can see here that the balance at the beginning of the month was 77.28. What you're paying is 77.67. Why? Because the interest was 0.39. When you add 0.39 to 77.28, you get 77.67. Now with that, you can see the balance becomes zero, and that closes the loan. So just let's remember now to copy this formula downwards. And hey presto, it sets everything right to 0. Let's remember to copy the formula upwards because this should work regardless of the cell in which you write the one-time payment. So this is how you set the balances to be 0 if they are negative. The next thing we're going to do is find the relative percentages of interest and principal paid back each month. If you look at the portion paid towards interest, it's decreasing as the months go by. Similarly, the portion paid back towards the principal is increasing. It would be interesting to see the relative percentages of these two for every month in the term of the loan. We can do this in an easy way by setting up columns right next to the interest and principal paid back so that we can set up the percentage there. So let's do that. To set up a column to the right of the portion paid towards interest, I'll select the column to its right and right click, insert cells, shift right. Once again, this does not change any formulae. You don't want that to happen. And let's set up a column to the right of the portion paid towards the principal to be able to write the percentage of the principal that's paid back each month. Select all the cells in this particular column, right click, insert cells, shift right. You want to shift this column to the right. So we do have two blank columns now. So I set up two columns here as percent of paying off interest and percent of paying off principal. And now in this cell, we're going to find the percent of this interest with respect to what you pay, which is this value here. I'm not calling it minimum monthly payment because it can change, as you have seen. And once again, the percent of paying off principal is the percent of this portion paid towards principal against the payment made that month. Now I've entered the percentages formula correctly, and these are the results. I see 16.44 with a dollar symbol, and I see 83.56 with many decimal places. So both these are in the wrong format. For example, the currency symbol is not suitable. I want to take it off. I just want to make it a pure number. Click on that cell, go up to Format, Number, hit Number. You're good with that. Similarly, percent of payment. Now this isn't in number format. I want to reduce the decimal places to 2, and that's fine. Now I click here, drag downwards all the way to the bottom, and let's see what we get. So click here and drag downwards all the way to the bottom, and you can see that you have the sets of percentages which add up to 100 each time until the time the loan is just closed, at which time you have 0.5 and 99.5% interest and principal paid back respectively, which adds up to 100, and then the result is a 0 balance. Now you will notice that at the bottom you have an error indication of divided by 0, and that's expected because when the payment becomes 0, then the interest as a percentage of 0 is an undefined function. So let's set up an if statement such that if the value of the cell here, the E38 cell, and you can make out the cell reference when you click on the cell by looking at the left corner up here in this little window. You can see it's E38. So if that cell is 0, then it should return a value of 0. We can just insert an if statement onto what is already there in the cell where the error is seen. So I click on that cell, I go up here to the formula bar and start typing if, and my condition is E38 is equal to 0, and you note that it doesn't matter if I use lowercase for the cell references, it sets itself right. It doesn't differentiate between lower and upper cases for cells, and the result should be 0, but otherwise I get what was there earlier. Don't forget to go to the end of the if statement, then close the bracket, hit enter, and you notice that you do get a value 0 here. Now just copy the formula downwards to the other cells and they all turn into what we expect, zeros. Don't forget to copy the formula upwards because we want to have this in general for all the cells of the column there, so that just in case there's a situation where the payment becomes 0 because you've closed the loan, then automatically the interest should be 0. And let's do the same thing for the cells which have a division by 0 error for the payment towards the principal. So that's done as well. And the last step in any programming in Excel or Google Sheets is to test to see that everything's working as we expect. Now, let's do one thing. Let's first of all delete the one-time payment. So it goes back to just paying back the loan normally, and as we expect, the last cell here is 0. Let's try something else. Let's put in a really high one-time payment of say $4,000, so the loan closes really quickly, and then let's see if the cells show zeros and not negative values. Okay, I clicked somewhere outside of that box, and yes, as we expect, the loan does close in a few months after with a balance of 0, and then all the other numbers below that are zeros as expected. The percentages of interest to the principal are also correct. Let's check for the last one, 0.5 and 99.5. Yes, they do add up to 100. And so it looks like we're good for the programming for this particular, this particular function.